once we've attained that peace inside, I want to take just a couple of short minutes and talk about then what. Because although that's the first step, it's not the end. It's wonderful to be in peace ourselves. But we then have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to practice peace in action, non-violence in action. And I want to talk just very quickly about a couple of short aspects about this. The first and most important, luckily here in a Jain society, I don't have to talk too much about vegetarianism. Luckily, with the blessings of Pujacharyaji and your wonderful teachers and guides and parents, I'm sure you're all vegetarians. But what else can you do? Take it, spread it, share it. Every single time you can convince your non-vegetarian friend, of course lovingly, gently, and peacefully, to choose a vegetarian option rather than a hamburger for one meal. One meal as you sit together in a restaurant. You will save 15 pounds of grain. That's enough to feed 15 other people. You'll save thousands of gallons of water, acres of land, 75 kilograms of carbon dioxide from being released into the atmosphere. Every moment you can share and spread vegetarianism is a moment that your life has been not only peaceful internally, but peace in action and non-violence in action for the planet and for all of the creatures with whom we share it. I was so happy at dinner this evening to hear from Pujacharyaji that there's now a new movement in the Jain society, a movement not only toward vegetarianism, but toward veganism. As believers in ahimsa, we are vegetarian because it is non-violent. And we believe that milk is also non-violent. And in India, on traditional dairies, it is. However, in this country, the situation is very different. Drastically different. In this country, the dairy cows are chained by the neck in crates in which they can't even move, let alone turn around. They never see a blade of grass, let alone being able to graze or walk or wander or eat it. They are hooked up 24 hours a day to painful milking machines and pumped full of steroids and hormones and chemicals to make them produce more and more and more. And their children? Well, if they're girls, they can look forward to such a wonderful fate. If they're boys, they immediately become veal or beef. And the dairy cow, when she's too old to give milk, immediately is sold off to the nearby beef farmers. We don't eat meat because of the practice of ahimsa. And yet in this country, the torture that the dairy cows suffer they'd be better off dead. It would be kinder of us to kill them than to put them through this. We can't change the practices in this country. If we run for president, we can. But in our lives, maybe we can't. And yet, we can refuse
support it with our dollars. We can refuse to support it with our choices. We can refuse to be part of a practice that tortures day in and day out cows just so that we can drink cheap milk. Obviously, the ideal alternative, go vegan. But if you can't, at least buy organic milk. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, but at least the cows on organic dairies spend their days wandering in the pastures. They're on the grass, they're not chained into crates, they're not hooked up to milking machines like that, they're not pumped full of chemicals and steroids and hormones. We have a choice. We have a choice in what we eat, what we drink. And last, we have a choice in what we buy. Why are items in big discount stores so cheap? Why are we able to purchase them so inexpensively? We think, oh, very good deal, good bargain, it's on sale. Yes, it's cheap for us, but someone else is bearing that cost. All over the world, in China, in India, in Bangladesh, in South America, millions of people spend 18 to 20 hours a day in torturous sweatshops, in toxic and painful situations, so that we can have cheap items more and more and more. This may sound horribly depressing, but the benefit, it's not. It's very positive, because what it means is every moment and every minute, everything we eat, everything we drink, everything we buy, we have a choice. We have a choice for nonviolence. We have a choice for peace. We have a choice to use every mealtime and every trip to the store to bring peace and nonviolence into the world. I want to conclude with a very short story, because as Pujya Swamiji said, the most important thing is the children. What choices are they going to make? What future are they going to create in this world? There was a businessman, and at the end of the day he came home and he sat in his favorite chair, and he was looking forward to spending a few hours resting and relaxing. But his young son wanted to play, and he kept coming up and bothering his dad. So his dad tore a page out of the newspaper on which there was a map of the world. And he tore that map into lots of little pieces. And he handed it to his son, and he said, "My child, it's a jigsaw puzzle. Put these pieces back together, tape them up, and then I will play with you." And he thought, I've got hours to rest and relax. But a few minutes later, the boy was back. The map was taped up perfectly. And the father said, "But you don't even know geography. How did you possibly do this?" And the boy said, "Dad, on the back of the map of the world, there was a picture of a child. I just put the child together, and the world." So as you're doing, put your children on this path. Put your children together, and automatically the world will